The Battle of Menotomy took place during the British soldiers' march back to Boston on April 19, 1775 AD. This mini-conflict took place right after Lord Percy relieved Colonel Francis Smith and Major John Pitcairn's troops in the town of Lexington. Their group was attacked constantly by the patriots after their excursion a couple hours earlier and conquered. To protect the soldiers from hit-and-run tactics of the patriots and to root out snipers, Lord Percy ordered his soldiers to root them out of hiding by burning down or ransacking houses near the road. He also had his troops form a floating protective square around the tired and wounded soldiers of Smith and Pitcairn. The militia patriots and Minutemen, who were now under the command of General William Heath of the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts, had over 5,000 men, chase and harass the redcoats by hitting them from 50 yards away, setting up ambushes along Bay Road, and firing from behind walls and trees and houses. The strategy worked, wearing down the British soldiers, who eventually struck back. The redcoats began to sack civilian homes, looting and running off with any alcohol or jewelry they could find. They also began to assault civilians. The bloodiest fighting occurred in and around a house owned by a 59-year-old farmer named Jason Russell in the town of Menotomy. During the afternoon on April 19th, militiamen and Minutemen were setting up an ambush for the redcoats near his home. He sent his family away so they wouldn't get caught up in the gunfire. Russell was aware of the day's activity since early that morning when he heard the alarm raised by Paul Revere, who rode past his house on horseback during his midnight run, warning that the British were coming. Around 4 in the afternoon, flankers that were sent out ahead of the main group surprised the patriots, who weren't expecting flanker units, and many were maimed by bayonets or were shot dead. The surviving patriots withdrew from their ambush positions and ran off to the Russell house. More and more flankers arrived before the main column of British soldiers were to pass by the house. Jason Russell, who despite being 59 years old and being lamed from an old injury, also participated in the ambush, and when the flankers arrived, he hobbled back to the safety of his house. Earlier, his neighbor, who was leaving the area for safety, asked Jason why isn't he fleeing with him, and he told him, an Englishman's home is his castle. 8 other patriots managed to run off into his house. Unfortunately, Jason was shot twice and died on his doorstep. His body was bayoneted at least a dozen times by passing redcoats. 8 Minutemen hid in the cellar. They shot one of the British soldiers who tried to open the cellar door, and another was killed nearby as well. 3 other Minutemen who fled from the redcoats ran inside the house and hid upstairs. When the commotion outside seemed to die down, they ventured downstairs to see if the coast was clear. Sadly, it wasn't, because several soldiers kicked open the door and one of the patriots was bayoneted. Another was taken prisoner, while a third one, after being searched and robbed of his belongings, was shot a dozen times in the back while trying to escape. When the house was finally secured, 12 bodies of Minutemen were found throughout the house. It was later used as a temporary spot to store dead patriots by the locals. An anonymous soldier wrote about the battle, saying, in another house, which was long defended by 8 resolute fellows, the grenadiers at last got possession. When after having run their bayonets into 7, the 8th continued to abuse them with all the beast-like rage of a true Cromwellian, and but a moment before he quitted this world, applied such epitaph as I must leave unmentioned. The British soldiers took very few prisoners. Some of the Minutemen who surrendered were shot, bayoneted, or beaten to death by the angry soldiers. The redcoats continued their march towards Boston after the Battle of Menotomy. The Minutemen suffered over 20 killed in action. Most of them occurred around the Jason Russell house. The British Army and Marines lost over 40 killed in action. Despite the heavy losses, the redcoats stuck to their strategy of burning down homes near the road and flanker units flushing out the Minutemen. General Heath regrouped the militia units under his command and prepared for more coordinated ambushes along the Bay Road until the redcoats reached the outskirts of Boston.